Hi guys, Togo here with a new video, and this video will be a video about Destruction Warlock. I wanted to show you the build that I'm currently running for my solo shuffle matches. In 3v3 it's a bit different because you can be a bit more greedy, because you can again choose your teammates and you can play around caster cleaves. In solo shuffle you don't have that leisure. I want to discuss about it. You could see it as a guide, or you could see it as a showcase of a build that you could play in solo shuffle and have huge success. In my opinion, in my eyes, Destruction Warlock is probably the second best Warlock spec, and you have to think that the first spec is Demology, which is basically a S tier. I think Destruction is really close to S tier. I think with the current like patch preview from 10 January, where they are going to buff Channel Demon Fire and such, I think Destruction is very close to S tier. I think they would be S tier in 3v3 if you're playing with Elemental Shaman. But I'm going to discuss about it in the future tier list I'm going to do. Since the patch is actually very big, I think the meta has switched. So, let's talk right away about the stats. Very important. You have multiple ways on how you can build the Destruction Warlock. In my opinion, the best you could do is still playing full haste. I know you can also go for full mastery for some reason, and I did talk about it in my first guide for Dragonflight. I think full haste is just too important to actually have a lot more conflags, because being full haste makes it a 9.5 second recharge, even lower whenever I'm in PvP. So you're lowering the conflag CD, you're also going to cast Chaos Bolt a lot faster, you're going to have Immolate ticking faster, but also being applied faster. Again, everything is scaling with haste. You could do more damage with mastery, but I think it's ideal to actually being able to cast spells. And in PvP, in social, you may be trained most of the time versus like double melees, and it is possible for you to thrive in that, because again, Destruction Warlock is quite tanky, but also a lot of casters are actually instant, and whenever you get some casters off, it would need to be fast, so that's why you want haste. So we're basically playing with mastery and haste rings. We have haste neck. I went for everything except my weapon, because I kind of hope I do get it in a vault, but I for now didn't really get it in a vault. It is what it is, though. I think it's better to have the off pieces first instead of the weapon. We go for Sophic Writ, but I think now the prices has gone down, so you could go for Sophic Devotion, or you could even go for the Haste proc, which gives you haste and speed. That's also a very good one. Or you could also do the Mastery one. I think it's Earthen Writ, something like that, and you can actually have a lot of success with it. But I think the best ones are probably Sophic Devotion and the waffling devotion or something like that, like for the actual haste proc. I think that's also a very good one. So the forset, I'm going to explain it real quickly. You want to have the forset as quickly as possible, because it easily is one of the best things for you. You can see it as a mini Dark Soul, basically the two set, and the forset will just make you actually crit a lot harder on your Chaos Bolt, but also on every other ability. So I feel like that's a huge win for Destruction Warlock. So you should strive to get it as fast as possible. Unfortunately, we cannot create it for now, but once you can do that, you should for sure create it really quickly. So I'm going to show you my rank at the moment in Soul Shuffle. I've did like 102 rounds and I won 58, so I have a positive ratio, and I am currently 1921. I'm going to play more Destruction these days because I just like the spec and I like the feeling of the spec. And in Soul Shuffle, I feel like I have more freedom than I think I have, because two melees can just be super uncoordinated and they don't know how to actually shut down a Destruction Warlock. And sometimes I don't even get focused because they prefer to focus a Shadow Priest or a Retribution Paladin, for example. So you have some ways where you're going to destroy people. So let's talk right away about the build. This is the build I'm currently playing. It is without Grimoire of Sacrifice, so you do lose damage, but that's not a issue, because Soul Shuffle is a bracket made for survival. You want to survive a lot of damage, and it is actually very, very important for you to survive the damage. You have ways where you could play a bit more greedy depending on the mates you're playing with, but in my experience, whenever you're playing versus double melee or triple melee lobbies, or sometimes even a big like melee, like for example a DH or a DK, you want to have a pet out so you can actually share the damage with your pet. And pets are quite tanky as well. And I do like to play with the succubus or Sayad. I don't know, that doesn't matter really which one it is, because I like to actually being able to CC while I'm actually casting. People would not expect it, and often and not they don't stop these seduce, so they will get full CC'd like a healer full CC'd, and like behind a wall you're going to destroy a melee by bursting, right? So I'm going to explain really quickly the main points on the class tree and on the destruction tree. I'm not going to delve into every single point because that's not important. I think now we're like a bit further into Dragonflight. If you have questions about specific talent points and how they work, please let me know in the comment section below. So basically we're going for fell domination because you don't need the improved one because matches are not as long as that. Often or not, I do put the fell hunter on my fell domination with a macro, because if I am playing succubus, I feel like, look, I need to kick something, I might just like put my fell hunter out so I can actually kick something. Depending on the healers, a lot of healers are actually not hard casting, but if you feel like the enemy healer is actually hard casting most of the time, a good silence works as good as a seduce, to be honest. So it really depends on the matchups that you're facing. We're picking every single defensive option, so demon skin, fell armor. We get a curse, amplify curse, because it's super important for your curse of weakness. It's underestimated. Remember, if you're doing a curse of weakness on a demon hunter, first and foremost, they will not crit at all if you're doing the amplifier curse, and trust me, if they're not critting on their blade dance, or they're not critting on the hunt and such, the damage is more manageable for the healers. So you should apply it whenever you can. You can also do amplify curse with curse of exhaustion, which makes them like being super slowed. But in my own experience, I prefer curse of weakness because people can just get away of slows, for example, with anti-roots of self slows and such, while they can't really self decurse most of the time. Like a warrior cannot do that, for example. But anyways, we take every single point that gives you more stamina, more like help towards the pet. The pet does quite some damage as well, although you should not count on it. I think the pet itself is a good value thing for you because it's out, it gets damage because of Soul Link and because of Profane Bargain, which is insane. But I'm going to discuss about it a bit further down the line. We're taking Strength of the Will, strength of Will instead of Dark Accord, basically because you want to actually have a huge wall instead of a smaller wall, which is 25%. 25% is quite nothing, right? Demonic Gateway, again, very important. Dark Pact, very important as well. I take Ichor of Devils so I can actually have a bigger Dark Pact. But in some games where you see that there are making goes every 40 seconds, something like that, I think freaking Donor is quite nice because you will have more Dark Pacts. We play with Lifeblood because we don't do Drain Life, and I feel like this is good, but I feel like every point is counting and I don't have the points to actually spend on Dark Fury or Shadow Flame. And then you have at the south of the tree the most important things. Since you're playing with Pet out, Grimoire of Synergy is actually very nice. It gives you 10% more damage, and in general you will feel that whenever you're going to do a burst and you have that proc on you, you will do more damage than expected and sometimes just kill the target even though you think he would survive. We play with Fell Synergy, again healing you and your pet. It's the reason why you're actually as tanky as you are right now. You're healing a lot, you're doing a lot of shields, and in general you are like a nuisance for the enemy team. Your mastery is also very good to actually reduce damage onto you, but also your versatility, which work in tandem, and instead of getting like hit by 100k, you will be hit by 70k, which is actually very nice. So we have Soul Link, which is the purpose why we are playing with pet out. 10% of all damage you take is taken by your demon pet instead. So you have the mastery, you have versatility, and you have Soul Link to reduce damage taken, and that's actually very, very neat. I'm going to say that it is part of why I'm surviving a lot of damage in solo shuffle. While, for example, if I played my warrior, I would probably die in an instant. I wish my warrior had that. Profane bargain. Again, below 35%, it will become a 20% reduced damage, or at least shared damage with the pet. That's also insane. And yes, you will lack the damage from Grimoire of Sacrifice, but with my current build, you don't really have a point to spend into that Grimoire of Sacrifice anyways. We play with 1 point into Soul Conduit because we have 1 point to spare, and 5% chance to be refunded. Can be nice, cannot also be nice because it could also not proc. But whenever it does, it feels good. We play with Teaching of the Black Harvest. That's not really important, but you can also see it positively. Reduce the cooldown of Seduction by 10 seconds, but also causes the target to walk faster towards the demon. And you have also Devour Magic, which is your purge with your Fell Hunter, which is sometimes nice if you're purging a good bop. Your your melee can actually slash the enemy real fast. But what I like is Demonic Resilience. You will be crit less, and all the damage of your primary demon takes is actually reduced by 15%. And that's also the most important thing, because you're playing with pet out. You want them to not kill your pet in one instant, because then you're like screwed. Then you don't have Soul Link, and basically you are paper. You could see it as a very, very tanky spec, comparable with Demonology. Demonology has Soul Link, and that was why they were so tanky in Shadowlands. But now with Destruction having that, you have the option to actually play that. Affliction has the problem where Grimoire of Sacrifice is actually a very big portion of their damage, so they cannot really sacrifice any chance to not have Grimoire of Sacrifice. It's also very easy for them to take Grimoire of Sacrifice, so that's why they're not playing with pet out. But you as a Destruction Warlock, you have a bit less value on Grimoire of Sacrifice, but also I think you thrive more by surviving longer than, let's say, dampen the enemy team. If you're surviving longer, you have more chances to do Chaos Bolts, more chances to actually burst, and at that point you can also kill someone. You have Soul Burn again. I think that's the most OP thing for Warlocks at the moment, because you can have actually big shields with Drain Life if you're playing Affliction. You can have instant Demonic Gateway, so if you get speared, you just do instant Demonic Gateway, you take the Demonic Gateway, you're out of the Spear of Passion, which is actually insane. And Demonic Circle Teleport, which it makes you immune to snares and roots. Again, very big, because then you can just run circles and give time to the healer to actually heal you. All of this makes you just more tanky. Also, you have your health stone, so you can do Soul Burn, Health Stone, and then Dark Pact, and you have the biggest shield possible. And in general, it is enough to actually survive the match. So now let's talk about the destruction tree. It's very basic. We're taking Chaos Bolt, we're taking Reverse Entropy. Again, all this is quite basic. You go for Shadowburn because why not? And then you have Conflagration of Chaos and Ruin to improve your Conflag, Shadowburn, and Channel Demon Fire. I'm going to talk first and foremost about Mayhem. Why are people actually taking Mayhem? Well, in solo shuffle, having more applications of Havocs seem nice, and you can also play with the PvP talent, which is Bane of Havoc. It is grayed out, but it works. You will get like a big zone where you're going to actually do a big AoE attack to everyone. So you're doing to pets, to like your enemies, and to everything that is inside. And which is good is actually your Mortal Coil is going to spread to everyone, and that's actually very, very good for, let's say, surviving damage in solo shuffle. But I do not play Bane of Havoc every game, depending on if there is caster or not. If there are double melee, then it's better to play with Bane of Havoc. If there is a caster, then I would not go for Bane of Havoc most of the time. It is making it more visible though who has Havoc, so that's something very nice to have. While for example Mayhem, sometimes it procs and you don't even know on who it procced, except if you have a weak aura, which I don't. So Bane of Havoc does help you with that. and it doesn't have a CD, so it can chain proc on multiple targets, multiple zones, and it just gives you more damage in general. And also, Soul Shuffle is a very dampening bracket, which has a lot of burst, of course, but it dampens very fast. So if you're hitting everyone at the same time, at one point the healer cannot like keep up, and you will get a lot of wins because of it. We take Pandemonium, again, improving the duration and the chance on proccing on Mayhem. And what I like the most is Ruling Havoc. That's part of the things that makes it a bit harder to put points elsewhere. This gives you pretty much all the time increased damage. And whenever you have stacked it 5 times, it would be 10%. And then you have like against emulating higher HP targets, you will get haste, and pretty much you will be like a stat stick as a Destruction Warlock, and actually being able to kill targets very fast, and also be very tanky with everything we got from the class tree. So let's talk now about the Channel Demon Fire. Channel Demon Fire is something that a lot of Destruction Warlocks are actually not taking, but they should. I think you have the leisure to actually play a Destruction Warlock which has 3 spells. You have 3 schools, excuse me. So you have Fire, you have Shadow, and you have Chaos School. And then you have also like some interesting schools, like for example, I don't know. I'm not playing with Cataclysm, but if you're playing with Cataclysm, you have Shadow Flame. But we cannot play that because we don't have the points for it. But in general, you have Fire and Shadow and then Chaos. If you're kicked on Chaos, you will be kicked for everything. If you're kicked on Fire, you should be fine. You should still be able to do Fear and still be able to actually do Chaos Bolts. And if you're kicked on Shadow, the same. You can do Fire and Chaos Bolt. And if you are not kicked, then it's good for everyone, right? But the good thing is, people are actively not kicking on Fire, and they think they are safe whenever they're not kicking you on Fire. Now we're giving them an option to actually kick on Fire. So whenever you're doing Channel Demon Fire, the purpose of it is to actually do a lot of damage, but also the purpose of it is to get kicked on it at one point, because they feel like, okay, now I'm getting a lot of damage by Channel Demon Fire, I have to kick it. Then you have your Chaos Bolts, where you're going to unleash a lot of damage because they don't have the points for it. But I'm going to show you the build into a solo shuffle match, if it procs, if it makes me enter, or else I'm going to continue the explanation outside of it. So we have Backlash, basically giving you free instant cast Incinerate. You have improvement on Demon Fire, which is again making your Demon Fire actually hit and crit for 100k, which is actually massive. You have Ashen Remains, giving you more damage on Chaos Bolt and Incinerate. Incinerate is very big in your current rotation. You have Ritual of Ruin, which is something good, because in general you're going to have it not all the time, but whenever it does feel right. You have Burn to Ashes to improve your Incinerate damage by 30%. It is not stackable, it's not 120%, it will be only 30%. You have Madness of the Ajakir, pretty basic, you want to improve your damage on Chaos Bolt and on your Shadow Burn. You have Dimensional Rift to actually give you more casts as well. More instant cast as well. It gives you also a lot of regeneration, and you have your Infernal to give you more CC, but also more instant damage, which is on a 3-minute CD, which in Solo Shuffle, often than not, the games will probably end with this. Alright, so we did a Solo Shuffle, and that guy just left. So, unfortunately, can't really show you because it left like after 2 rounds, and it's pointless to actually show. You see my record didn't change, which is quite sad, but it is what it is. The Resto Druid kinda got tilted. But so the main focus you would have with this build is basically play with your Channel Demon Fire, and with the ability to actually run away and to be tanky. Don't be afraid to sometimes eat damage and just cast in front of them. I see a lot of Destruction Warlocks actually just not do what's necessary to survive, and often than not you want to survive a bit too much, but you will not have the damage to actually kill someone, so you will have to play a bit more greedy. And you see my Channel Demon Fire, I'm going to do just one Demon Fire. That's on a dummy. It does 134k and it's only critting 2 times. Imagine if it crits more. And of course on a dummy it doesn't have versatility and such, so you'll be hitting around 100k, but with just one cast, which is basically a 2.2 seconds cast channel, it is going to be actually very good and very efficient, and you will have more spells to actually press to do damage and to be impressed, at least impressing the enemy team to actually, look, I gotta kick Channel Demon Fire because else I'm going to die. Now the problem with Channel Demon Fire is if you're going to emulate everyone, you're going to basically spread the damage with all those people, so you are not going to do single target. But if they are clumped up and you're going to do Channel Demon Fire, you're going to do insane amount of damage, a lot more than if you would just do a single target Channel Demon Fire. So it depends on if you're playing versus casters or if you're playing versus like a melee cleave. If you're like cleaving with Channel Demon Fire, you're going to do more damage. If you're not cleaving with the Demon Fire and it's going to spread, it's basically to say, look, you have to kick me, because your damage will not be as impressive as, let's say, on a single target or in a cleave situation. I want to talk really quickly about the comps that you can play with this build. To be honest, every comp that you can play is with a wizard, so basically a elemental shaman or a frost mage or arcane mage. You could even play with a fire mage if he really wants to play fire mage, but that's not the best comp for a warlock. You can also play with a balanced druid. Basically, balanced druid will be on a cyclone duty with like a root beam, and in root beam you can basically one-shot someone, either melee, but I think that the best comp I would suggest to play would be with elemental shaman. Elemental shaman with a destruction warlock is very big, very efficient, and just very good. I think it's going to be the best comp for a warlock going forward if they are going to nerf Demonology in the future. They already did with Fellstorm, to be honest. You're going to have a better time with a destruction warlock if you're playing elemental shaman. You're going to wreck people. Like, basically warriors are going to be non-existent versus you. You will have more difficulties versus demon hunters and DKs, for example, but still it is manageable to actually cleave them with your power. Elemental shaman is very scary. Destruction warlock is very scary and very tanky, so again, the better, right? In Soul Shuffle you will have difficulties generally versus like double demon hunter teams, because it's very bursty and your pet will be cleaved, or demon hunters with DKs, but it is winnable. I won a lot of games versus demon hunter DKs in Soul Shuffle because it's uncoordinated. They don't know how to play except zugging, and you can't only zug the destruction warlock. You have to actively play around your CC, and if you don't have a CC, it's pointless to stay in the face of a destruction warlock because he's going to cleave you with a lot of damage. So if you're a demon hunter, you want to watch how to counter a destruction warlock. Basically play with brains and it is going to be all right for you guys. So anyways, let me know what you think about the video. I'm going to make solo shuffle videos as well for the Destruction Warlock with this build. The problem is, again, if people leave, I cannot really show you the gameplay, especially if it's like early rounds, like second or third round. It's pointless to actually show a video with only 3 rounds, right? But anyways, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, and we will catch each other very soon in a next video. Have a great day. Bye.
The ingredient is belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.